Hey everybody, another tutorial video here. This one was asked by somebody who subscribes to my Patreon account, and I answered it in my monthly patron question and answer. But I want to provide some of that answer here and just kind of the highlights of that. Before I get into that, in case you missed it on the channel, I have started a baseball podcast, which runs as a video here on the channel, or you can get it anywhere you listen to podcasts. It is called Baseball is Cool. So if you get podcasts somewhere, go subscribe, etc. All of it's in the description of this video where you can find the podcast, as well as a link to my Patreon if you can support the channel. But anyways, so the question was that how do I look to spread at bats around my lineup? Basically, like, how do I decide how much I want my starters to play, how much I want my backups to play? And if you look at my lineup here, this is not representative of how I normally do it. All of them you can see are just under if the starter's tired. That's because I'm in the playoffs right now. I just switch it to that just so my manager doesn't do anything crazy in the playoffs and like start a backup in a playoff game for no reason. So I'm going to kind of go through each position and tell you how I think about it with each guy. But, well, actually, let me go through it this way. So I have a couple franchise-type players. That's Armendariz and Concepcion. Their backups are going to stay at if starter's tired. Sometimes I will go here, like I'll say I want this guy playing every 15th game, but Armendariz can also play second base. So I'll say, well, I want him at second base every 15th game. So he's going to play whenever, pretty much every day. He'll just get some at bats at second base. Maldonado comes into first base, and then that frees up the DH spot for somebody, not very often, but maybe like 15 games a year. And so that's the first way I think about it is, who are my superstars that I want to have play every day? And I just list them as if starter tired, or I put something here like every 15th game if I can put them in at a different position every 15th game. Satchel would also probably fall into that. He might be, he's a superstar type guy, but maybe I'd want somebody in every 20th game. But those aren't the more, those are the easier decisions of, okay, do I want if starter tired or somebody coming in like 8 games a year or something, every 20th game. When you get into the guys who aren't necessarily as strong as starters, like I've got Mike Angeletta here. He's a really great fielder, but he's a 2 to 3 WAR guy. He doesn't need to play every day. His bat's around league average. I have other infielders who are interesting players I'd like to get at bats to. And so, but Angeletta is clearly my starting shortstop. He's the best glove option. So when I think about that, I think about, okay, a guy who's a clear starter but not a superstar, I want him to get him 120-ish, 130-ish games per year. So if you go to this little drop down here and you go every 5th game, if somebody is going to play every 5th game, meaning 20% of the games, they're going to get around 30 starts per year. So in this scenario, Sandoval would play around 30 starts per year. That's maybe 120 plate appearances. And Angeletta would still get 130 games. And then what I'm probably going to do is also, I'm going to have Sandoval somewhere else too, right? Like I said, this is postseason, so my lineup's a little screwy compared to normal. But I'd have Sandoval somewhere else, maybe like every 10th game at third base. So that way he's getting, another 15 games there. So he's up to 45 games. A good guy to look at for how I did that is Jeff O'Brien. And Jeff O'Brien was a rookie outfielder for me, 4th outfielder, and he got 64 games, 214 plate appearances. If it's a young player who maybe I don't have a starting spot for, or a guy that maybe isn't a starter, but I still like him and want him to get regular playing time, I shoot for about 200 at bats. And if you have him every 5th to 7th game at a couple positions, he'll get that. He'll get around 200 at bats. You can see here everybody. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 guys with 422 plate appearances or more. Of course, Satchel came over to me halfway through the year, so it's not like I got all these guys these at bats. But then my Sandoval became my backup infielder, still got 422. O'Brien was my backup outfielder all year, 214. Enriquez was up and down a bit, but still got him in 175 plate appearances. And then Salmel was my backup catcher, who he was up and down some, actually. I had a third catcher who I wanted to get a look, a younger guy. So, but Salmel still got 99 plate appearances. And then DePaul was really the one guy I just didn't care about getting him starts. As you can see, I gave him 4 starts. And he got 58 plate appearances because he pinch hit a bunch. He was just a left-handed pinch hitter. He's an older player. I sent him as a free agent because I wanted a lefty hitting pinch hitter off my bench. I have 3 really good outfielders. I had a 4th outfielder who was a rookie and a former first-round pick who I wanted to get a decent amount of playing time to. So DePaul was the guy I really didn't care about getting at bats to. And again, Enriquez and Salmel were up and down some this year. Again, if it's somebody who I really consider more than just like a pinch hitter bat, I want to try to get him to that 200 plate appearance mark, but obviously not at the expense of like an Armendariz or a Maldonado. But chances are that your lineup isn't all superstar players. You might have 2 or 3 superstar hitters, so that gives you 6 or 7 other spots where you can shoot for 130 plate appearances for a guy, and then spread the other plate appearance around. Somebody gets about 200 plate appearances as a backup, and they'll also get time. As pinch hitters, they'll pick up some plate appearances there. If somebody's day to day or tired, they'll get some plate appearances there. And again, I'm not going into too much detail on splits and things like that. Like I have a guy who's great against righties, terrible against lefties. He won't get at bats against lefties, and my backup will get at bats there. So, I'm not going into the weeds on that. I have other videos on how to kind of do platoon splits and order your lineup. This is just basically, how do you get playing time for guys that are on your bench. So that's pretty much how I do it. If you have any questions about it, I know this is just kind of like a high level overview of thinking through that. Get superstars all the at-bats you can. Get backups 200 plate appearances. Starters who aren't superstars, aim for maybe 130 games, which is every 5th game. If you have, I guess, more detailed questions on that, let me know. If you do it some other way and you think this is dumb, let me know that too. And certainly go watch the videos on how I construct my batting order, and also a lineup strategy video about how to determine when you need to sit guys against lefties or righties. So that is all for this one. I will talk to you guys next time. And like I said, please leave any feedback or questions or comments in the comments section, and check out the description video for where you can find the podcast. Talk to you next time.